What's going on, everybody? It is Chris Aiken from the Classic Metal Show and Aftershocks TV. And before we get to this next episode, I just wanted to remind you that I have a book out there called And Other Things I Should Not Say. It is about the absolute debauchery that raged in my world when I was stationed overseas in Korea, as well as a little bit of Arizona and some basic training and AIT stories as well. It's kind of my military book. It is wild, friends. I'm going to tell you now, it is definitely not biblical reading. So make sure you go over and get it. It's on Amazon.com or my website, Chris Aiken Books, and Other Things I Should Not Say. Get it now if you're bold enough to dare, all right? All right, here's the episode you actually came to see. It is Aftershocks right here on Aftershocks TV, and joining us today to talk about his brand new release, Parabellum, which arrives on July the 23rd, is the guitar maestro himself, the legend himself, Mr. Yngwie Malmsteen. Yngwie, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Excellent. Well, Yngwie, it is always great when new Yngwie Malmsteen music arrives on anybody's desk as a fan of metal. And, once again, your playing is amazing. It's just, what is this, 20 or 21 albums and really no clunkers, man.
Thank you.
Excellent.
I try to put the greatest stuff that I had laying around on there.
Sure. No doubt, man. Well, Yngwie, let's talk a little bit about Parabellum for a minute. Obviously, the world itself in the last year has been just this crazy time. So I have to imagine for you, this was an interesting time to release music. So talk a little bit about the writing and the performing of this, in the wake of everything that's going on outside of music.
Well, I mean, I kind of like approach my writing, in a very specific way, really, no matter what happens.
Mm-hmm.
I can write on the road, I can whatever, but this was quite different because of the pandemic, I didn't do any touring. And normally I tour, right. I go on the road for a month or whatever. I come home and so it's always some touring going around, even if I'm actually in the studio.
Right.
So this time around, when all the tours were canceled that I had booked for the year, I think the last show there was in March 2nd, I think it was.
Okay.
It was in Mexico, and so no one really knew how long this was going to hold on for,
Right.
So I'm just gonna take it a little easy, we'll see how this works out. Hopefully it's gonna be, something goes away, but it didn't.
Right.
And so I decided basically to utilize this time to really, really come up with something that is, highly, I just want to say, impactful in the sense where I really have no distractions,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just 100% in the studio, writing, performing, and living with it. Like I put it in the car, listen, and I would change, like songs would change, it would change tempos and change everything, So it was a great thing in a way because I don't think I spent as much time on an album before,
Mm-hmm.
Very concentrated time. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I think it allowed itself to be, even more thought out kind of thing, which I don't want it to be too thought out because I don't like that. I like it to be spontaneous and energetic and feel inspired, which I wouldn't allow anything to, as far as performances go, solos and so on, I wouldn't allow them to be on there unless they were on fire, basically. I don't do second, third takes. Either it is first take or either it's not. So
Okay.
I just walk away,
Sure.
So
Now,
it's a matter of you have to learn how to use your time that you have. Don't just kind of like sit and dwell on one thing,
right. Do you think now that you've done it this way, where you had so much more time, do you think that will change how you record in the future? Do you think that you'll allow yourself more time to do it, or will you go back to writing on the road and writing all the time and just constantly having a more quick creative process?
Yeah, I think that I'm pretty prepared to do it either way, really.
Okay.
Because because when inspiration hits, it doesn't matter when or how. It's more like the arrangement parts and stuff like that you can spend more time on. But actual initial ideas and the inspiration, the themes and stuff like that, they just come to you when they want to anyway. So
sure.
I don't necessarily think it's gonna have to be like this all the time. No.
Okay.
I don't mind so much to step away and come with a new perspective too. It's kind of cool too. But I allowed myself, it's very dangerous when you don't keep a distance from it too. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Definitely.
So I allow that to be, even on this album, I wouldn't, it's hard to explain.
Right. No, I get it.
Yeah.
No, I definitely get it. Well, one of the things that I read in the press release, Yngwie, so we'll take that for what that is, but I read that you really enjoyed working with Pro Tools this time. And I'm curious for you, how has your approach to songwriting changed over the years with the growth of the technology? Do you still have full ideas, or do you come in just with parts and then grow it with, piece this to that and whatnot, and then grow song ideas?
But it's both. But here's the beauty with Pro Tools.
Okay.
As far as being, there's a lot of things you can do technically that I actually don't do. But for me, for my approach, I'm a, very, as I said, very spontaneous composer and performer and so on. I don't like to do things over and over and over and over and over.
Mm-hmm.
I like to capture the moment. And so, what the beauty with these things is that compared to in the old days, I would write a song, I would demo a song, I would take it to a rehearsal room and rehearse with the guys in the rehearsal room, then record the drums and record the bass and so on. And then when it comes to a certain point, I go, oh man, I'd rather have 16 bars here than 8, or I'd rather have this section in the middle, or I like to have a double chorus here. So, well, tough shit. That's it. So I learned how to live with that, which I really never liked to do. Now, that is the beauty for me, that I could say, oh man, we should take this middle section and use it for the intro.
Mm-hmm.
Good example is Wolves at the Door. That G minor middle, the opening was actually written for a middle section.
Okay.
For the solo. But I said, wow, this is cool. Let's start the song with this. So things like that.
Right. No,
other than that, I use the regular recorder, really. I use all the old recording techniques, with tube gear and all that stuff.
Okay.
So it's not, I'm not going totally crazy with it.
Right. I hear you. Well, Yngwie, you mentioned Wolves at the Door, which is the first song that you've shared with the public. And, you mentioned that intro, and I've got to say that intro is probably the best encapsulation of your entire career, because it just shows how you always challenge the sound. I was surprised to read that wasn't keyboards, that was you, with the movement of your guitar. So talk a little bit about that idea, man, the idea for that beginning part of that song, because that is really interesting.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I can go way back with the way I approach this. For instance, I wrote a song in Alcatraz called Too Young to Die, Too Long to Live, right? And I wrote the melodies, and I wrote the chord structure and the song. We were rehearsing it. I said, no, I gotta have something like a little structured classical thing in the middle. So I would go home. I would write it. I would write that part.
Right.
I come in and say, like, right before the solo, we're gonna do this F sharp minor thing here. Okay. The difference is that I did the same thing with that Wolves at the Door song, where I had the melody and I had the riff and the verses and everything was like set,
Mm-hmm.
And it was a solo section coming up. And I'm going to do something that's like introduction to the solo. So I just wrote this part and I was going to put it in the middle.
Okay.
Well, it turns out I dug it so much, I put it in the beginning of the song and after the solo. So it's not where I was supposed to put it anyway. So that is the greatness of this freedom you have arrangement-wise and stuff like this. That's how I use it. I don't use it like in a trickery, but like, speeding things up and stuff like that. I don't do that. It's basically the ability to move things around, even at late stage, you know.
Mm-hmm. Certainly, man. And you know, especially with that song, that is the first, like we said, that's the first song that you've shared with the public, and it's got the video for people. Why was that the song that was chosen to be the lead off single?
Well, to be honest with you, I basically couldn't really pick one.
Okay.
Because I think that each song is like a little story, you know, so like a little journey.
Mm-hmm.
The record has 10 songs, but each one does something to the other one that follows, and so on. And that's how I like to put records together. I was never really into like the single format, but the label, and I agree with them, wanted to put something out just to perk people's interest and so on. And we were talking about putting another type of song. There's a couple of songs that are more, I don't know, I wouldn't call them safe, but they're a little less crazy
okay.
than Rules at the Door. And then I said, no, let's take that one, because you know it's definitely it will show a little bit of an introduction to what people can expect.
Sure.
So I wouldn't say, yeah, that's representing the whole album, because it doesn't.
Okay.
But you know, it is definitely a big part of it, you know.
Right, definitely. Now, Yngwie, you know, you mentioned that you do a lot of listening to the music back in your car, and again in the press release it mentioned that was how you made the decisions on which songs to put vocals on. Like you listened to it and you just sort of felt like it needed a vocal. So talk a little bit about that, man. When you're listening in the car, do you listen to it as a fan, or do you listen to it with a critical ear, looking for things that you would want to change, or what?
Very much. Well, I try to listen as a fan when the song is more completed, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's growing, when it's kind of giving birth to, almost everything I do when I write stuff, I play the guitar, and if it's a melody you hear played on the guitar, I sing it when I'm writing. So there's two voices, like a keyboard player that can play with left and right hand with the counterpoints. I sing and play the guitar when I write, to get melodies and chord structures together. And I would also put something together, like, oh yeah, just throw an idea together, like some chords or riffs or whatever, and listen to the car, and I sing along with it in the car. So it's a combination of all these things. It's not exactly the same all the time. It's always different ways of doing it. But you know, it doesn't happen exactly the same way. But yeah, that's one of the ways for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. And you know, obviously with this new record, Parabellum, you don't, there's not vocals on all of the songs. I believe there's four songs that have vocals on it, and it's with you singing. That's not new now. That's something that you've taken to the last few records that you've done. Are you now comfortable with your own voice the same way as you've always been comfortable with your guitar playing?
Well, yeah. I mean, because the thing is that there's a couple of tunes that you probably haven't heard of yet.
Mm-hmm.
But there's like a ballad there, for instance, that's very deep lyrics on.
Sure.
I couldn't imagine someone else singing it, you know, for me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done that in the past. I've written songs and I've written the lyrics and the melodies and everything, and other people sing it, and it was okay, you know, it was cool. But I feel at this point in my life, at this stage, I like to do it this way. This is what I feel like doing.
Sure.
And so it's not like a new thing to me, really, because when I was a kid and I was putting things together when I was a little kid, you know, in Sweden, I was always a singer. So it's not like it's a brand new thing.
Sure. No, definitely not. Well, Yngwie, obviously right now the world is starting to open up a little bit. I mean, it's not completely open yet, but it's getting there. With that said, and with you having a new release coming out in July, you know, what are your plans? Are you planning to get out there and tour? Are you going to wait till 2022? You know, what are you thinking?
We're going to do a show in in Serbia in June.
Okay.
It's a big festival. And then we're going to do some gigs in Florida and Texas in July. And I'm going to do a couple of clinics. And then we have some stuff in September, October, November, December.
Okay, great. Excellent.
So,
are you at all, do you have any kind of nerves at all about, being out there now with the change in the world as it is?
no.
Okay. Yeah, but you'd be surprised how many say yes.
Why? Nerves about what?
About the getting sick or being out and, having people together and whatnot. There's a lot of people worried about it.
Yeah, because I think they buy into this. I think it's a lot of, obviously it was a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been problems like that before, and they never cut the worm off anyway. So I don't know. I'm just gonna roll with it, and I'm gonna do the shows, and right. I hope everybody turns up, and it's gonna be a great time.
Excellent. Well, one final thing, Yngwie, it's not deniable that the game changed, way back when you arrived, as far as how guitar was played. And certainly, Eddie Van Halen changed the game as well when he arrived, before you came onto the scene. Back then you were compared a lot to Eddie, and I don't think stylistically, but I think as somebody that just played the guitar so differently than what everybody had heard prior to, yourself, Eddie, maybe George Lynch. There's a few of you that were really highly regarded in that time. Were you compared to Eddie? Did you feel like you were being compared to Eddie because the style of guitar was changing and it was centered on you? And do you think that it was fair that you took those comparisons back then?
Well, I might have mentioned before, I've done a few interviews today, but I don't believe in comparing anybody with anybody because it's supposed to be an art form.
Right.
However, in any art, there will be trendsetters, basically. There will people come around and kind of like turn everything upside down. And Edward was definitely one of them. Sure. And, I brought something different to the table also. And so I personally loved Eddie Van Halen. I thought it was amazing. I loved everything he did.
Mm-hmm.
Since first time I heard it. But, I don't think that I don't think it's a logical thing to compare artists. It's like saying Picasso and Da Vinci, which are completely different styles, but they're very well-regarded artists in their own right. So, it's a crazy thing to do,
Mm-hmm. Oh, makes sense. Did you know Ed? I mean, obviously you ran in the same circles. Did you know Eddie or not really?
I didn't know him very well.
Okay. All right. Well, fair enough, man. Well, Yngwie, once again, the name of the new album is Parabellum. It is out July the 23rd. And where should we tell people to go to keep up with you and find out tour dates and all that good stuff?
Well, it's all my Facebook and all this stuff, and YngwieMalmsteen.com. And just everything online. So it's always open. There's a lot of stuff going on there.
All right. Excellent. Well, one more time, the name of the album, Parabellum. It is Yngwie J. Malmsteen. And Yngwie, thanks so much for checking us out once again here on Aftershocks.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for listening to Aftershocks. For more episodes, go to our website at www.aftershockspodcast.com. Visit us on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages for more news and information on the podcast. And be sure to subscribe, listen to, and review all episodes on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all other podcast platforms. For your music listening pleasure, visit our website or go to www.shockwavesradio.com. For all comments and questions, please email us at info@aftershockspodcast.com.
All right, everybody, another great interview right here on Aftershocks TV. And before we go, just want to remind you one more time, make sure you get over and subscribe to the CMS Podcast Network, CMSPN.com. You can watch, you can listen, you can subscribe to everything that we do, not only us, but the classic metal shows, Shockwave Skull Sessions, Talk to Me. It's all there, one site, get 4 great shows, never have to do anything again but be entertained. So check it out, CMSPN.com, CMSPN.com, CMSPN.com. Until next time, folks.